Greetings and welcome to Smartwatch Ticks. We're a YouTube channel on the web at smartwatchticks.com. Which one's which? Kospet Prime 2 or LOKMAT APPLLP Pro? You see a slight difference in this screen? This is that long-term power save mode screen, and one of them has got step count capability added to it. Which one? Yep, the new redo. With the LOKMAT APPLLP Pro, I'm just going to call it the Pro from now on, and the 2, okay, the Prime 2. Notice a slight font difference, the date's there, the power level's there. Oh, by the way, it's been on for 20 hours, both of them, and they're like been back and forth within 1% of each other. Really, really sweet. The display on each of them, notice the font's a little bit different, the layout's a little bit different. Circle square is here. We want to put them both in circle mode, so there we go. And, of course, power save was down at the bottom. We touch that, we pop out of it, and now we're into the original watch face on each of them. It looks very similar, but they are different. The original 2 has one active button in the middle you press to get the camera. Look at the animation going on in the Pro. And you can touch that to get into Google phone calling, okay, not just your SIM calling, but if you've got yourself set up to make calls, what do you call VoIP? You could do that here. Your workout activities, your heart rate, as well as touching the center to get into the camera. There's a bunch of other subtle differences in these, which we're going to get to. But first, if you don't have one yet, I got a couple of buying sources for you may be interested in. The Kospet official store has the Prime 2 on sale right now. And check the show notes for all of these sources. I will have the link to the buying page, and if I can, get you even a cheaper price with the coupon. You could also pick up the Prime 2 over at Banggood. They have it available as well. Now, when it comes to the APPLLP, you got it. TomTop is the source. It has this one available, or you can pick it directly up from the AliExpress site of the official LOKMAT APPLLP online store as well. Any of those will work for you. Now, first, the basic stuff. There's really no difference when you go through all of these pages here, scrolling from the top across and then up this way. You've got your weather, music player, step count information. All of that's the same. When you go this way, you get into your, whoops, I think I accidentally hit the camera thing. You get into your notifications, there we go. And when you go the other way, you get into your app drawer, followed by your fitness. So those look basically the same. However, here in the app drawer, you're going to find a few differences. The order is different. It begins like this. They've named this messages instead of SMS. And from here on, it's all jumbled. So I'm just going to show you. You got camera, and then we jump into settings. You've got all kinds of things. See if you see anything new and different between them. But they are in different orders. Notice you got Google, you got Chrome, you got Maps. You got this Play Movie TV thing. Here's settings finally showing up over here. You got heart rate. There's Gmail on this one. There's Face Unlock over there and fitness. There's fitness finally. Okay, now they're starting to track similarly. But cameras down here, gallery here is way far away from camera, but they're together there. I mean, it's just a matter of ordering differences. But there are a couple of other things I want to point out deeper in here for you. We get all the way down, and then there's that assistant thing, which is where you connect to the phone. But look, in the Pro, you have the option of turning that whole thing off if it's not in use. That will save battery. Here you don't. When you turn it on, now you get that page that you can do these different things in. But you do have an option to deactivate it. That's a sweet enhancement. Your overall app store, different than the Play Store, mind you, is where you have these basic 2 apps is all they're giving you, Facebook and WhatsApp, that you can download separate from being logged into the Face Store. To the Play Store. You get into now the optimization. This is basically the same as well, including your screen system work mode for being normal or performance. Highly recommend you stay in normal unless you have to. And also, of course, up here, the clean task area, which is what you're going to want to use for a little bit different the way they do the switches. What you're going to want to do for making sure your background, your third-party apps will still run in the background if you need them to. Just highlighting that. Every video I can get a chance to do, I do that because it's the biggest complaint that people have is that the apps stop when they shouldn't. Okay, what else is different? Well, right from the top, when you go into phone, you're into the SIM card, which is, where do they put the SIM card in? So there it is on the side over here on both of them. But you're into the call records and the contacts and everything related to making calls using a SIM. Here, when you tap in on phone, you're into the Google representation of all of your calling capability. If I tap back here, my favorites, I've got the people I call the most, and I can make calls directly from the watch over the internet using that. Contacts, here they're basically the ones that you populate in or create on your own or move from the SIM card. Contacts on this one is my complete directory of contacts from my Google account. And then messages, of course, is different. This is going to be your standard SMS text messages. Here, you're into messaging from Google. So we're approaching it differently. I'm not sure how you do the actual SIM. Maybe when you put a SIM card in, it switches automatically. But for now, when you're using it for your phone contacts and messaging, it's functional. As long as you are on Wi-Fi, or I guess if you have a SIM card in it, it's functional using the internet aspect of it as well. So that's pretty cool and a different enhancement to this one that definitely needs more checking out. Your watch face store is pretty much the same. It's going to give you downloadable watch faces from the server that they have available, and they're all the same ones in the same order, and it's as simple as just grabbing one and hitting the down arrow, and that will download them into the watch face area, which we'll just go ahead and jump over there right now. When you come out of here, it's on that particular watch face. So those are faces taken from the server, but there's some cool stock watch faces installed on both watches. Pay attention. This may be the one big deciding point that you might want to buy your watch on if you are a real fan of watch faces. Now, we already highlighted the first face, and touching this launches the camera on both of them. And as far as I can tell, the camera is the same, the image resolution is the same, the module is exactly the same on both of them, no change there. However, here, I can touch here and activate my running activities, all of my activity fitness level stuff. I can tap here, turn on the heart rate sensor in the back, and get my instant heart rate. And I can touch here, get the phone that we had already as well. So those are additional touch buttons you don't find on the Prime 2, but you do find on the APPLLP Pro. When you tap and hold both of them, you get into more faces, and they are different. We've seen these before. I'm going to just highlight a few of them, like that one that is very colorful. This one is a very large one, especially on a large watch. But this is new, and this is nice. It's not active in that it jumps around when you touch it, but it is animated. You have this kind of a solid one. There's nothing moving there. There's this sideways one here. So really, there are significant differences in the faces they've chosen to put on these watches. Now, I'm going to mention that these faces are part of the firmware. The hardware of these watches is basically the same. It's the way they've implemented the hardware that makes them different. And depending on which firmware is flashed onto these watches, or onto these watches, will dictate which watch faces you get. Because each of the companies will make a selection of faces that they're going to give you that you'll be able to load up. Here we go. Now we've got an animated one on this one. So both of them have been playing with animation, been playing with touch faces. These are static on here now. So yeah, it just depends on your choice. What do you like? There's the last one on this one, and we're almost through over here. Another colorful one, another one, and then I think that one is the last one there. So I mentioned this about firmware because each of them have their own separate firmware installed from the company. And there's a third firmware out there which we have the option of flashing to these watches that gives you something completely different and includes completely different watch faces as well. But I digress. Let's move on. You did see that both of them have Chrome installed, and right now they're showing up differently. That's because, I think a lot of you know this, but there's still some who don't. You can press and hold on the top button, change the circle screen to square screen, or change it back to circle screen. What's happening? Yeah, it's not changing. What happens here? If I go to square screen, I get square. If I go to circle, I get circle. Here's a change. The new firmware on the Pro is restricting certain apps to square only because they know you're going to run into problems needing to get to menu items and touch buttons that might disappear on the bottom. So they're not allowing the circle display at all. It's a judgment call, I guess, that they've decided to do, but there's an example of it. What do you think about Gmail? Did they do it on Gmail? Yep, sure enough. Circle, square, toggle on the 2. On the Pro, it's going to stay in a square. And I'm pretty sure that's true of almost all of the Google apps here. What about Maps? Yep, Maps too. Now, this is sad because sometimes I like to have my map in full screen and diminish the bottom, but it's forced into a square here, right? I can't change it. Okay, so that's on the Pro. They've decided to restrict your ability to go into the round map, which is personally, I like to be able to do that. So the Prime 2 is holding its own and having more flexibility to display apps the way you'd like. Colors aren't coming through right there. I think it's because of the brightness of the watch right now, but it's basically in color. They're just looking a little strange. Also, because of the type of screen, you see how they do shift colors when you move them? You don't see that on an AMOLED screen, but these IPS, or whatever we're looking at, TFT, they do have a bit of color rendering issues. And lastly, what about settings? Settings between the two are pretty much identical. Here we go. You don't see really anything new or different there. Bluetooth is the same, apps and notifications, battery, all of this is the same, sound and storage and location, your Google services, system, and then about the watch. You've got Prime 2, you've got APPLLP Pro. As you scroll all the way down past your IMEI number and everything on both of them, you get to the build numbers, and you see this is the version 1.4 of the Kospet, and this is version 1.0. There's the release dates. This is a much newer watch and newer firmware. And of course, when you scroll all the way up to the top, you have the wireless update option, which you're going to want to check on these to see if there's anything waiting. And software is up to date. So, what do they look like on? I'm glad you asked. This one has a specialized band. Neither of them have the stock band. If you want to see them with the stock band, then just check out the full review of either one of them, which are on here on Smartwatch Ticks. But this really fun, playful red band on the side with the holes that gives it a really nice look. That's a Strapsco band, and I'll have a link in the show notes about this. We also have reviews on a lot of different bands from Strapsco. They specialize in bands for all different sizes of the smartwatches out there, even Apple and Samsung and so forth, Fitbits, all of that. But they really do well for these Android watches. And as far as this one now, this is a special metal band that LOKMAT sent along to show off what it looks like if you want to really dress it up with a metal band. It's the type that clasps and pushes over. Oh yeah, the camera, you've seen that. It tilts, and I'm not going to do a whole lot of look at the camera in this comparison because they're identical cameras, and we've done an extensive look at these already. So they are there, and they work the same on both of them, and you can use them for selfie or for long distance straight out photography work. But that's basically the two different watches compared. The internal hardware is the same between them. There's not a big difference on anything there as far as I can tell. So what you're looking at is price. What can you afford? What are they on sale for? And features. And from the features, you've seen the drawbacks and pluses in both of them. Some different touch faces on this one. Restriction on square versus circle on some of the apps. But otherwise, yeah, add your own band or take the stock one, and you got great, really nice, big size watch with a twistable front top camera on them. It's the Kospet Prime 2, right? Or the LOKMAT APPLLP Pro. Both of them really great watches if big is your thing. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. And a final reminder, if you don't have your watch yet, we've got some buying choices for you. If you like the Prime 2, you can get it directly from Kospet, their official store. It's available right now. Or you can hop over to Banggood and put it in your cart. Check it out over there. Speaking of check it out, check out the show notes. I'll have the links to these sources and hopefully a discount coupon for you as well on top of that. If you like the APPLLP Pro, AliExpress is the source for the LOKMAT store, their official store. You can pick it up there. This is where you have the option of getting the one with the metal band, by the way. Or you can jump over to TomTop, and TomTop as the retailer has it as well. Alrighty, those are the choices. These are the watches, and now you know.